Hello and welcome to the Facts of Facts, the only Facts of Life podcast that really wishes that they were one of the Lords of Discipline's old ladies.
Yes, the Lords of Discipline. We'll get into that later. I got a
Well,
lot of that shit.
I just imagine that they're all super hot.
Yeah, of course. You mean the giant street gang that is running rampant in Peekskill, New York?
Yeah, it's terrifying stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I was terrified this whole episode.
I mean, graffiti is terrifying because I grew up in a house.
Yes. And I didn't, but I live in a house now, so
well,
I
can
think
actually Mrs. Garrett said I was born in a house, which is
made her sound very, very old.
Yes, it did.
She was born, on the prairie in like 1885 is what it made it sound like. But also, not only are we dealing with graffiti, we're also dealing with a smashed trash can.
Smash trash.
Whoa.
Nothing worse.
Shit's getting real.
It's so real. This is the dark times of the 80s in New York that needed to be cleaned up. Who did? Koch? Was Koch the one who cleaned it up, or are you making a mess?
No, so Koch was trying to manage this. So, I mean, he wasn't mayor of Peekskill. He was mayor of New York City. So
I know, but same diff. All right, so we've got Small But Dangerous, episode, what do I want to say, 9 of season 5, and written by our beloved Andy Borowitz.
Wow. And here's the thing about this episode, and which I was describing to my husband before we started recording. I said, this one was bereft of jokes. Absolutely.
It really was.
Bereft. Not a single one. Lines were delivered as though they were punchlines. No jokes. Not a joke. I kept writing, not a joke, in my notebook.
I think when Joe says, kid, you're in the store and you're still breathing and one of those has to change, kind of a joke.
Maybe we're sort of inching, or we're sort of maybe centimetering towards a joke because they make a weird metric joke.
Okay, that was funny.
No
that
sense.
was a joke. Here's the joy. That customer comes back.
Oh my
just
God.
Once
does he just
Christmas episode.
Does he just hassle them?
I honestly don't remember. I was surprised to see that he comes back for the Christmas episode. I can't wait to see what it's going to be.
Being like, you know what? I moved back to Imperial. I'm off of metric, back to Imperial, so I do want a pint of ice cream from you, or whatever.
Anyway, directed as always by Azad Khalada. You can tell from the many scenes that are in the same location back to back. Pamela Segal's back in the credits. That's exciting times.
It is. I mean, this is the thing. It's all about her, this episode. This is her backstory.
This is her origin story.
So was this intended to be a pilot about this little girl?
This was intended to just have her join the cast and be let's introduce this girl, give her an episode, and then she's going to hang out with the girls. And it'll be like, we have another Joe for some reason. And then they were like, this isn't working. And they'll quickly phase her out. But they try.
But again, it's such a strange thing because it's like, you've got Joe, the burly, street talking lesbian, right? We've got Blair, the high fashion millionaire who is deigning to work in Edna's Edibles. We've got the fat girl and the black girl. And then they're like, let's just make Joe again. They couldn't think of another one? Like, let's have a redhead. Let's have a curly-haired one. Let's have one that is from the South or something,
It sounded like you said a breadhead, so I'm assuming they all they want to do is listen to everything I own.
Exactly.
Yes. So we open where many of the scenes are in Edna's Edibles, where a policeman
Yeah.
is taking a statement about some graffiti that showed up all over the side of the building and the back. Where is the back of this building? This building has two fronts.
Here's the thing about this building. At this point, I feel like it's like the Guggenheim. It's so unclear as to where people enter, where people exit, also where they live. I don't know.
People can enter from any angle.
And do they roller skate in? Where are Tootie's roller skates? That's good for the Guggenheim.
We will find them eventually. She will unbox them in probably like a season or two. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. So who's this cop that we're talking to? His name apparently is Officer Zia. Okay, it's so weird. They actually put his name in the end credits, even though nobody says it. I do not know how to pronounce it. I'm gonna spell it for you.
Okay.
Curious to see what you come up with.
I'm gonna write it down. Okay.
Okay. ZIA.
Hold on. Way too fast. ZIA. U.
KUS.
KUS. Ziakas.
Okay, that U is kind of a little bit silent. Ziakas.
So at this point, now I actually feel as though this, and let's describe this black cop is now Greek. That sounds like a Greek name to me.
It does. I don't know why this is his name, but I do know that he's played by the one and only Larry Wilmore.
Great. And here's the thing. He was the best part of this episode.
He was funny. He had jokes. Like a funny citizen. That was good.
He was in it for what, 3 minutes? 2 minutes tops?
Yeah, like 2 minutes tops.
And every line he delivered was hilarious.
I agree.
Again, as I said, no jokes, but delivered like they are.
That is true. So Larry Wilmore, of course, hosted Wilmore on Comedy Central. He created Insecure, Grownish, The Bernie Mac Show, PJs, Grownish. What's that? He, as an actor, after this, he would do a few Sledgehammers. He would occasionally write and perform on In Living Color. He wrote and played a character in the first season of The Office when it sucked, the American one. He recurred as Dr. Rolland on the wretched Jenna Elfman knocked up knockoff accidentally on purpose.
Oh my God. That was the worst show.
That was a really bad show.
That was like shocking. That was like, knocked up, but like if it was a back alley abortion. It was
it should have been called Knocked Off. But he recurred on back alley. Jeez. He recurred on Love Bites, Happy Endings. I love looking at you. Malibu Country. He recently played himself on A Difficult People, and he recurred on Upload, which I loved. That was like my first pandemic watch. It's a show about people who, when they're going to die, their souls get uploaded into a afterlife where you can visit them and talk to them. I very much like this show, and apparently he recurred.
That was on Amazon, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I got through the pilot. I hated it. It was like
I loved it so much. There's like at one point, like later on in the season, where like they like Taco Bell is doing some kind of deal in the with the Upload company, and so there's just Taco Bell advertisements, and like everybody it's so good.
But that basically sounds like a Mike Judge movie to me.
Sure. As a writer, he started on Into the Night with Rick Dees, which was a short-lived Rick Dees late-night talk show, In Living Color, which we mentioned, Sister Whoopi, which is where I worked with him. And then after that, The Office, Bernie Mac, Love Bites, Blackish, Grownish, Not College-ish, and of course, Insecure. He's incredibly talented and surprisingly good in this episode.
Great. He's the best part of this episode. Also, I will say this. He did not create Insecure. Let me run you back on that.
He's one of the creators listed on IMDb.
Issa Rae created Insecure. He ushered it through. Let's praise Issa Rae because it's in the last season and it's one of the best television shows I've ever seen. So.
Okay. Well, I only went by IMDb credits, so I did not mean to insult anyone. So the cop wisely says that the graffiti sounds like the work of vandals.
Yeah, that's literally the definition of a vandal and graffiti.
And then Joe flexes her white privilege and just talks back to him. I thought it was Cub Scouts on a jamboree. Fuck you, he's got a gun. Leave the man alone. He's there to help Joe. What are you there to do? The book?
By the way, I looked it up. So do you know that basically jamboree is a term that was invented by the Cub Scouts?
No.
So it's a international or national event for Cub Scouts for them to gather and, do their Cub Scouting, I don't know, skills, whittling, whatever the fuck Cub Scouts do, whatever. Anyway. Skittling. Yeah. Anyway, it was created the first one was held in 1920 in the UK, which I don't know if you know that I spent some time there.
I have heard, actually.
Anyway, but it's a term that the guy who started the Cub Scouts basically just invented. And now it's just a term that we use. Like, oh, do you want to go to we're going to go to the Burger Jamboree. I don't know if that's a thing, but I will say.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say that once when I was in college, I smoked some weed before I went to my English class. And my English teacher invited our group to his private poetry jamboree. And I couldn't hold it together. I could not stop laughing because the notion of being with my professor, but also at a poetry jamboree, which sounds oxymoronic to me, was just too much for my addled brain to handle.
I don't think I'd have been able to handle it either, so I don't blame you. The officer really enjoyed Joe's bitchy comment. He just cracks up. He loves a funny citizen. And Joe just looks at him like, I hate you so much. I will make you sad somehow. I'll figure it out. Then the cop asks Mrs. Garrett to tell him what the graffiti says because for some reason he can't be bothered to go look at it.
Okay, here's where my mind was like, what's happening now? Because the graffiti not only is apparently so big and bad that it's on the back and the side and maybe the front of Edna's Edibles, but that he also just didn't read it, note it down, but also it's so bad that Mrs. Garrett has to pass him a note because it's so offensive that she can't say it on TV.
And that she wrote it down in anticipation that the cop who would come would not see it nor want to look at it so he could read it himself. I know you're going to go out there and look at it and read it, but I want you to have it on a little piece of paper. So as a memento, thank you for visiting Edna's Edibles. Here's something very offensive and also creatively phrased.
Yeah, so
because the officer had never heard it said that way before.
Yeah,
whatever it was.
Whatever it is. So what do you think it is? I wrote down bitches be slurping. I also have suck cock Ed Koch.
Okay. But Britt, Ed Koch is not the mayor of Peekskill. Why do we have to tell each other this so much in this podcast? I genuinely was baffled as to what it could be.
Was it ACAB? Was it all cops are bad? It's so confusing to me as to if you're going to pull a gag, which is Mrs. Garrett can't utter the words, and then Larry Wilmore, talented Larry Wilmore, is like, I've never heard it phrased like that. I need to have a sense as to what we're talking about. Is it pussy eating?
Quiche me where the sun don't shine?
Maybe. Yeah. Which, perfect. Honestly, that should be the tagline for Edna's Edibles.
Yeah, I can't believe that this woman. And then, like, so the officer's so impressed with this that he then wants to show Mrs. Garrett the piece of paper that she wrote down, the thing that she can't even say out loud, and also has written on her home and place of business. Why are you gonna like? Oh, look at this. Yeah, look at that verb. What do you mean?
I know. I know about it. I've seen it. I'm describing it. I'm handing you a paper about it.
I don't like it.
It's offending me. So let's just take another moment and reflect on it.
He asks if anything's missing, and in fact, a whole tray of cream puffs is.
Yeah.
I wonder what fat ass criminal did that.
I wrote down, at this point, so then fucking Natoots are like, that was us, Mrs. Garrett.
And Mrs. Garrett's like, I know, I just wanted to humiliate you in front of the officer.
But also, if you're stealing inventory, much like our friend Pamela Adlon, you should not have a job. If
That's true. You're just as bad as she was.
Yep.
Anyway, he finally, he asks if she wants to press charges and cracks himself up.
Yeah.
It's easy to see why they found a way to use him 2 more times. He will be back. He finally goes to look at the graffiti, gives some sound advice that honestly, even if today in 2021, if you are listening to this podcast or whenever you are, maybe we're in the future. Anti-gravity water. If he says, lock your doors at night.
They clearly have not been following that rule because they had their door open all last episode.
Yeah, they even close their doors at night. They got strippers walking in at 2 a.m.
Male strippers.
That is true. Mrs. Garrett wonders who she could have pissed off. And Natalie says, you sell enough quiche, you're going to make some enemies.
Again.
Completely tone deaf to Mrs. Garrett's concern.
But again, also, this is the thing. She delivers it like a punchline. If you sell enough quiche, you're going to make enough, and you're going to make a few enemies. So this isn't a joke. It doesn't scan as a joke. But also, is she telling Mrs. Garrett that she is giving food poisoning to people?
Yeah, it kind of was very confusing. Like, I think she was trying to be cute, but it really came off misleading. And in fact, she is going to make in the very next episode a croissant nemesis.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that's what you call me. Your croissant nemesis.
Anyway, Tootie monologues about how they're all poor, defenseless women alone with someone out to get them. How they probably make TV movies of the week about this. How they're all going to probably star in TV movies of the week about this once they're done with this show. Except for Mindy Cohen, who'll be the friend of the person who stalked. But either way, Blair suggests they get armed security like Bloomingdale's because despite Joe's doubts, things get pretty hairy during their Saturday white people sale.
But exactly, that's the thing, is that it's like, I wrote down, this is Peekskill, not Kuwait. Like, what the fuck is going on? I don't understand. Why should they get an armed guard? Also, being held up for what? Quiche?
Held up for what? Joe tells them they're acting like a bunch of girls. Said like a man, wrote it.
Yep. And she says also that she was born in the streets. And I wrote down, no, you weren't.
They actually graffitied her hospital bed, which was literally on Broadway when she was a newborn. Mrs. Garrett, however, was born in a house because her parents don't trust doctors. And either way, graffiti scares her to death, which is a bit extreme.
And then in walks Pamela Segal / Adlon, right?
Kelly fucking AffoNOT and
wearing her fucking little Kirsten Sinema terrible little denim vest, which made me hate her even more.
I will say that look is better than her home look. That's all I'm going to say.
The home look was way better.
Oh, okay.
Denim skirt over denim vest any day, Dominik.
I just feel like Pamela Adlon in a tight little skirt is weird. It's just weird. I don't like it. It's fine for somebody else, but for her, it just did not fit. Anyway, Joe basically tells her to fuck off. But what she technically says is, you steal it, you bought it, which makes flat out 0 sense. I don't know how that works. If you steal it, you didn't buy it. That's the definition of stole. You stole it. If you try to steal it, I'll make you pay for it. That's also not going to work because she's just a kid. She don't have money.
Yeah, but also it's basically a riff on if you break it, you buy it.
Sure, which that works.
That makes sense. And also, Kelly AffoNOT, is that right, Kelly?
Yep.
She does break shit later.
And I don't see her buy anything.
But also, what is revealed? She's got that schneef. She's got that money because she comes from rich parents.
Did you say that schneef?
Schneef.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that term yet. I gotta get out on the streets where all the babies are being born.
I haven't been on the streets in a long time because of the pandemic. So that came from my cabeza.
Nice. All right, good to know. Mrs. Garrett hasn't had the misfortune of meeting Kelly yet, so she just gently reprimands Joe for what would have been an insane thing to say to an actual customer.
I guess you're right. She hasn't met her. Yeah, because she walked in that other episode with those other kids and was trying to steal those snails. And I guess Mrs. Garrett was busy with other customers or Mr. Parker or whatever the fuck. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. So this is.
But I mean, they make a point out of it. Like she has to be told by Blair, like this is the bad girl.
Yeah.
But at this point, with Joe just literally being like, "Hey, you steal it, you bought it," and Mrs. Garrett's like, "Joe, don't speak to a customer like that." I'd have been like, "Joe, what the fuck are you doing, speaking to a customer like that?" But anyway, she tells Kelly to browse around and help herself, which sets off Joe, and she calls Kelly the dreaded T word.
Thief.
Twerp.
Oh, twerp.
Yes.
Sorry, because I just got confused because we have the T word and then we also have the S word that comes.
Yes. Yeah, no, she's a twerp and a smurf. She's a twerp smurf.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they're all saving wall space for her at the post office. Sick burn, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe says she's got to go, but she doesn't say where. She says it's upstairs, though, because she says if Kelly gives them any trouble, she's going to come down and step on her. But this is so unlike Joe. If a threat enters Edna's edibles, I'd be following her around until she leaves. This is Joe's nemesis.
Exactly.
She's like, I'm going to go upstairs and, like, fart on my jeans. Like, what are you doing?
No, I don't know. Filing her nails?
Like, she grooms.
Yeah.
Sadly, the plot requires it. So upstairs, do absolutely nothing. Joe goes. And then we learn that the escargot situation was not the only time that Kelly tried to steal from Edna's.
No. She tried to steal a smoked ham. And then she claimed it was her little brother wrapped up like a baby.
But
and
in
then
her defense, he looks like ham.
Again, I wrote down, not a joke.
No, it's not. Why didn't we see that? That would have been a lot more interesting than, oh, I got snails in my jacket.
I mean, well, I mean, absolutely, for one thing, because also the fact that like she's 10 or 11 or whatever.
I thought she was 13.
Okay, 13 years old. Here she is in the first episode where she's introduced. She's stealing this canister of snails, of escargot, still in their shells. And it's like, why would a 13-year-old be like, that's the ticket? Of course they would go for the fucking smoked ham.
Yes, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But also, how many times do we think Kelly has attempted to shoplift from this one gourmet food shop? Like, is she like their Yogi Bear and everything there is just like a picnic basket to her, and for her she's just doing this over and over again in between episodes?
Yeah, she's their Winona Ryder.
She doesn't even seem to have an interest in food. She has an interest in Joe. So, like, come on, guys. But they let her continue coming in.
So anyways,
even though they haven't apparently described her to Mrs. Garrett.
No.
Even though she's a repeat shoplifter now. I can't believe Joe left.
Right. And so Anyway, so then Pamela Adlon Kelly is, ingratiating herself with Blair, right? And she's complimenting her in the best way possible by telling her how great her hair is. She tells her her hair is better than Victoria Principal's.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing about Victoria Principal. First of all, she was born in Japan.
Yes.
Secondly, she's very famous because she was on Dallas.
Mm-hmm. She
has her own skincare line. But most importantly, she loves the environment. She really loves bees. And after Hurricane Florence in the Carolinas, she donated rescue boats.
Way to go.
Yeah.
She also wrote, the year that this came out, she wrote the book The Body Principle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Blair is playing tough cop with Kelly because she's like the only person who witnessed any of this. And also, where is Goofy Cop? Is he still looking at the graffiti outside?
We never see him again.
I know.
It's like, this is unresolved.
He got lost. He's trying to find the back of the building. It's all fronts.
He's trying to find the back of the Guggenheim, and he's just been circling.
Anyway, you don't have to get up. Blair's like, you got to get up pretty early in the morning to fool Blair Warner. You don't have to get up any time to win her over with compliments. The minute that says her hair's good, she's like, oh,
I love
this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I will say, I looked at both, and I think Blair's hair is overall better. They're both fantastic hair. I mean, like, they would be on the top 10 list of the 80s, but both of them would be on there. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, Blair's hair is, a delight as always. Pamela Adlon is sporting a mullet. So
no, I meant Victoria Principal.
Oh, Victoria Principal, absolutely. Jesus Christ.
No, I don't think Pamela Adlon's 80s hair goes on the list. I was like, wow, you really could be like shocked that I would think that. And I was like, once you elaborate, I was like, oh no, I am not advocating for that like Smurf house that is her head.
Her curly little terrible mullet. No, absolutely not.
No, but Blair does finally, for eagle-eyed watchers who have been waiting for this information, reveals the secret of her hair is high-quality shampoo.
Yes.
Likely L'Oreal.
I mean, the thing is that I imagine it's her own blend, which she was giving to Guy 5 episodes ago or whatever, the 2-in-1 combo that she invented before the 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner had been invented.
Yeah, she's ahead of her shit with hair.
Yeah.
So she quotes the L'Oreal line, "I'm expensive, but I'm worth it." And I was wondering, Britt, what are your thoughts on L'Oreal? But I'm noticing in my notes I wrote Lorelai.
I mean, here's the thing. Lorelai is a very fast talker and drinks too much coffee. L'Oreal is a very accessible, nice brand. I don't use it for my shampoo. I do use it actually for I think I have some L'Oreal hair gel, Chinese food. But I use a weird conditioner, a shampoo that's like it's like high tech nonsense. So, it's called Hair Story. Shout out to Hair Story.
What up, Hair Story?
But it is basically a combination shampoo conditioner because it doesn't strip your scalp or your hair strands of any of its, natural oil or whatever. So
I hope the Hair Story people snip this and put it into a commercial, and then they're like, "That's Britt's hair story. What's yours?"
where my hair looks like trash right now, but whatever.
Hey, at least your bun is in focus as opposed to last week when your bun with your background blur I think your bun is more forward today. Last time it was a little bit more in the back, and so it would be blurred. It was blur bun.
Blur bun.
Blur bun sounds like what like if you were to take Japanese class and they're like, okay, everybody's name gets a Japanese name. Britt, you're going to be blur bun. Anyway, I don't know what that meant. Kelly gets down to business. brass tacks, if you will. She stopped by because she saw that the Lords of Discipline left their calling card on their back and side.
Whatever.
They're the roughest gang in town. The only gang in town, but they rule.
Yeah.
They rule all.
So, and then Blair says that, a street gang, aren't there zoning laws against that? Again, not a joke. There are laws against having gangs, but not zoning laws. I will say this. So I was curious. I was like, what the fuck why would this writer, Andy Borowitz, name this the Lords of Discipline? And I was like, does that actually exist? Looked it up. Sure enough, a 1983 movie starring Michael Biehn, who was in The Terminator and Aliens, as well as a little film. He's had a long career, like he's been in everything, but a little film with David Caruso called Jade, which basically ruined David Caruso's entire career.
Why? Was it that bad?
It's notoriously bad. It's a Joe Esterhazy garbage script that's just full of drugs and sex and tits and guns and nonsense. Anyway, it's very watchable, but trash. Anyway, here's the thing. So, Michael Biehn and David Caruso are investigating a crime, and Michael Biehn starts delivering this speech while they're investigating a murder in a flop house. And I just want to just quote it word for word. He says, as they're walking around investigating everything, he goes, "We got about 3 grams of coke, some poppers, some assorted children's vitamins." And then David Caruso opens the mini fridge and goes, Cristal, Beluga, Wolfgang Puck. It's a fuck house. So that's what the Lords of Discipline, the guy that starred in the Lords of Discipline was in 10 years later. Maybe more, maybe 12.
I've gotten takeout Wolfgang Puck, and I can confirm my apartment was a fuck house that night. Anyway, Kelly knows the Lords of Discipline because she lives next door to them. They share the same slumlord.
Again, not a joke, and also not a thing.
I know. I wrote. Yeah, that checks out. She offers to talk to the Lords, talk them down. I'm sure it's some misunderstanding. Somebody probably got horseradish mustard instead of cranberry mustard on one of their giant hunk of cheese sandwiches that Tootie made, and they've been mad ever since.
Right.
Tootie, speaking of, starstruck, absolutely into this.
Yes.
She's like, wow, never met a street gang before. Tell me all about them. Sure, Tootie's met pimps, prostitutes, pedophiles, rapists, Jermaine fucking Jackson. But the street gang, oh boy, tell me more.
No, I know. And the other thing is that it's the other thing is that that's so insane about this is that, first of all, they evoke the term slumlord, right? This is 1983, right? The federal government has told New York City to drop dead. The Bronx is actually burning, Bonfire of the Vanities type shit, right? And
literally, Bonfire of the Vanities just came out.
No,
side note.
No, and it's and here's fucking little Pamela Adlon in Peekskill, New York, being like, in the Hudson Valley, it's real rough up here. What the fuck?
What the fucking thing? That's why I hate her so much. Tootie asks what is the obvious question. Are the Lords of Discipline like the gangs in Michael Jackson's Beat It video? And the answer is yes, minus the smoke machine, which is pretty impressive because the gangs in Michael Jackson's Beat It video are 50 real-life members of the Crips and the Bloods. So there you go.
You did your research. Also, that was one of my first cassette tapes I ever bought. Was Michael Jackson's Bad. Wasn't it on Bad?
No, it was on Thriller.
Oh, it was on Thriller. Well, then this anecdote is irrelevant.
Well, but I had Thriller on vinyl.
But Beat It is one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs. But Jackal. I mean,
Natalie apologizes for Tootie because she's been overly influenced by mass media, and it is here we learn that Natalie is taking a sociology class and has become obnoxious in a whole new way. And I'm worried that my point about Kelly being the worst was going to be lost on Britt, who will now be fixated on Natalie's latest obnoxious habit. But however, she does not do it. It was like they were like, we wrote a plot, but then we didn't have time for it. And so we cut out most of the lines, but we left 2 of them in. So there's 2 mentions of it, so it's fine. But I was worried that you were going to be distracted by Natalie being awful and not see how Kelly deserves what she got.
She gets nothing.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, for the rest of the season, she gets
she
gets nothing.
So, I mean, I will acknowledge the fact that it's very annoying that, like, Natalie's like, oh, I took a sociology class, so I'm very, I think it was Sesame Street that read her wrong. And it's like, Sesame Street? You're blaming Sesame Street for undue influence? Absolutely fucking not. Sesame Street is educational and wonderful.
And not only that.
Fuck you.
I'm going to support you here, but I wanted to say that Natalie tells Tootie to shut up and let her relate to Kelly. But what Tootie says is that they'll be late to gym class, which makes Natalie go, short attention span. I blame Sesame Street. That's not even short attention span. That's a girl who knows what her schedule is and wants to be on time.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
That's punctuality.
Sesame Street for being on time.
Yeah. Again, I'm sure there was probably a lesson in Sesame Street about being on time and how impolite it is when you're not.
Yes. Natalie can't even get sociology right.
Speaking of, here's the thing about, for all of our listeners, Dominik is compulsively on time. He's very punctual as a human.
Well, thank you. I try very hard. I don't like to let people down. If I say I'm going to be somewhere, I am there.
Yes.
I've noticed sometimes people aren't anticipating me being on time. Not you in particular, but sometimes it's like, oh yeah, come. The party starts at 9. I get there at 9:15, and I'm the only one there for an hour and a half. I hate that.
Yeah. Well, that's how you are at my parties. But then again, here's the other thing: is that you also really stay late, which is great. You know, it's like you get there at 9:15, but you stay until 4. So, you know, I get.
Now I feel like an unwelcome house guest.
No. That's the best thing. Everyone has always been like, oh my God, Dominik, he's the best person I've ever met. So.
Oh, well, as long as I'm the best person they've ever met, then I'm okay with it. So with Natoot's gone, they go to get to class. This is when Kelly reiterates her offer to talk to the Lords of Discipline. Mrs. Garrett's like, the fuck is your name again? What is happening in my life where gangs are being talked to on my behalf by a little child? And Kelly's like, Kelly AffoNOT. She's like, I'm Mrs. Garrett. And then Blair, who nobody's talking to, is like, and I'm Blair. Your name was already dropped when you like, you have to get up pretty early in the morning to fool Blair Warner. We already know your name, Blair. She knows your name. But that doesn't stop her from being like, rhymes with a hair, which Blair loves.
I literally wrote down, okay.
It does.
Just like, yeah, it does. Again, not a joke. Not a joke.
True. But Blair is enjoying this, probably because she's completely used to being hit on by lesbians, but they're usually not very complimentary. They're usually very mean, tell her to kill herself, and then they go and have sex. She's like, this is great. This is nice. I can handle this. So what kind of screwdrivers do you have under your pillow?
Exactly. Do you have any motorcycle parts?
Mrs. Garrett decides she'd like to prefer to leave it in the hands of the police, who are somewhere lost around her building at this point. But Kelly does not take no for an answer. She's going to talk to them regardless. They're in a good mood. They stole a car last night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Garrett's like, whatever.
But also, the other thing is that it's like Mrs. Garrett's not like, this little girl knows a little bit too much about the street gang. Maybe I should talk to the cop outside about this situation right here, and also the stolen car she just discussed. Does he know about that?
Absolutely. He should. Not that he would do it. He'd just be like, I love a funny criminal. I love it when criminals are tiny. He would just be in a good mood about whatever it is.
Just be like, a little kid can't steal a car like that. That's hilarious.
So we transition from Edna's to Edna's.
New scene.
Yep. Now there's a customer who wants 50 centiliters of pasta salad.
Okay, so this man looks like a giant boiled egg. He looks like Humpty Dumpty wearing a little suit and glasses.
His name is Bob Zudiker. Silent T. Yes. So Mrs. Garrett only sells pasta salad in pints and quarts. Got a little fly trying to get me. I guess she's not yet investing in a scale for her business.
But
pints, quarts, or fuck off.
But also it's like, what kind of? He's basically like, the joke is that he's this very persnickety, annoying customer who wants
a very metric customer at the very least.
Yes, but who wants a very precise amount of pasta salad.
Do you know what 50 centiliters of pasta salad is?
No.
A pint of pasta salad.
Okay.
Like, they clearly picked what would be a pint of pasta, like how many centiliters. So that's all that. But he's gone metric. He's not turning back. He will be turning back to the store in a couple of weeks. But
anyway, this outrages him.
It does.
And he's like, if I can't have it like this, I'll take my business elsewhere, which is the most insane reaction to pasta salad I've ever heard.
What's insane is that customer, he wrote Newsies.
That is insane. You mean the delightful musical starring Christian Bale about little tiny newspaper boys delivering the newspaper?
I believe so. I've not seen Newsies, but I assume that's one.
I know you've never seen any movie ever. Whenever I bring it up, I'm like, have you seen, Jaws? I don't even know what that is. Star Wars? Maybe. No, that was.
I saw Jaws because you told me to watch Jaws. So, whatever. And then I watched Jaws 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah, but the thing is, did you have the 3D glasses?
No.
So that's the problem.
I do have a 3D television, though.
Well, why didn't you get the glasses and then watch Jaws 4?
I actually think I do have 3D television glasses. I don't know if they play on the TV, but I have to find them. I've never worn them. I don't like 3D.
But that's the whole point of Jaws in 3D.
I thought Jaws 3D was great. That was my favorite Jaws, was the third one.
Well, that's why you need to wear the specs.
All right, I'll get the full treatment. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about Bob Zudiker. Had a brief acting career, Hill Street Blues. A word that I spelled wrong that I'm trying to think of what show that was. But we're just going to skip past it. Family Ties, Three's Company. He'll be back for the Christmas show, as I mentioned. He did Benson Hunter. Simon and Simon. He did 2 Murder, She Wrote, Moonlighting, T.J. Hooker. He was in the movie Ruthless People. He did a duet. My beloved LaPlaca show. He did A Few Days of Our Lives. His last role was on Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Then the year after that, he wrote Newsies. After only having written one episode of What's Happening Now, it was The Happening. I was preparing for extra words. In 1987, he went on to do a ton of stuff for Disney, though. So after Newsies, he did the story for The Lion King. He wrote Hunchback of Notre Dame, the cartoon movie, the TV show Quack Pack, the movies Anastasia and Tarzan, as well as its straight-to-video sequel, and then he did 102 Dalmatians. But he hasn't done much since the mid-2000s until 2 years ago, he did a Birds and the Bees PSA starring Hassan Minaj. He wrote that. So he's still kicking.
A sex PSA?
Yeah, it says PSA about the birds and the bees.
Okay.
Anyway, he leaves Mrs. Garrett, and she puts her enormous tray of pasta salad under the wooden counter, which I really hope is refrigerated and not just lit. It does not look refrigerated, but I hope it is.
No.
One of those cabinets that is, but it doesn't look it. Anyway, Kelly comes in. She's got some bad news. Oh, you got something?
Let me pause you on this. What kind of pasta salad do you like?
I don't really like pasta salad. I do like cold pasta, though. So let's see. There was a pasta salad that I enjoyed at a restaurant I worked at, and it had fried eggplant, like thin breaded fried eggplant. It had little balls of fresh mozzarella that were cut in half.
Delicious.
It had tomatoes, a little bit of basil, and a balsamic vinaigrette.
Yeah, so it's more like an actual like salad rather than the creamy shit that they sell, out of the tub at like.
Yeah, I cannot eat that.
That stuff is terrifying. That will
mayonnaise-based pasta salad. No, thank you.
That will make you get food poisoning, like almost guaranteed.
I had a friend who had old pasta salad. She took it out of the fridge and she looked at the date and she's filming it. She's like, "This pasta salad is like 8 months old," and she's like filming it, and it starts to open itself. Anyway, Kelly arrives with some bad news.
Yeah.
Apparently, when she asked them to leave Edna's edibles alone, they were like, "Fuck you!" Took the chains off their bikes to attempt to whip her for the outlandish request.
Okay, so let's unpack that,
please.
I assumed that this was a motorcycle bike gang. Now, at this point, it's to be understood that they are on bicycles.
I guess so, yes.
So they're little children who could be basically caught by a car.
Now, is there a chance that they just have like threatening chains with spikes on them attached to their tough motorcycles, and those are the things they took off?
No, because they took the chains off their bikes, which is a very childish thing to say, because it's like her mind is like, oh, I'm gonna go to the terrifying little boys that terrify me at the playground. That's the big skill street game.
She's got a lot of holes in her story here, because she also explains that she got away from them so fast because she has a lot of practice running away from rats. And first of all, how big is your place if you can run away from the rats? I call bullshit. But moving on, she goes, well, every kid needs a pet. If this is your pet, why are you running away from it? What the fuck are you trying to say?
As I said, not a joke. None of this is jokes.
Nope, none of this is jokes, and none of this adds up. Anyway, for some reason, Mrs. Garrett gives them the toots 16 minutes to finish cleaning up the store before they, I presume, close. But then no one can clean shit?
No. So they're doing their white glove test. So basically, they have 20 minutes to, dust everything, make sure everything is good, and then they get to go to the movies, but for their evening entertainment, right? And that's when Mrs. Garrett's like, you only have 15 more minutes or whatever the fuck, she says. But Kelly offers to help.
Despite her repeated shoplifting attempts.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's sort of like, who the fuck are you? And they're like, oh no, of course, like, you don't have to help, but like, why don't you come to the movies with us because you live with rats? And
no, they are like, help. They toss her a rag and they're like, do it. Because that is what they learned from Mrs. Garrett. Make other people do your work.
But I will say this. So I don't know who dressed Pamela Adlon, but she is stomping around wearing like her grandfather's cowboy boots or her mom's high heels. It's like they're making so much noise that it's distracting. Like
the tap shoes.
were they giving her like lifts like Tom Cruise or something? I don't understand. It was the weirdest thing. She was wearing, it was like she was like everyone else is wearing like tennis sneakers and she's clomping around wearing, you know, Manolo Blahniks that don't fit.
She asks if this place is a halfway house, and depending on the season, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Little girls live with an old woman. Yes, this is a halfway house.
Mrs. Garrett laughs because it feels like one because it is one.
Yeah.
Tootie explains that the wacky broken plot of the show in the 5th season, just like where everybody is, how they know each other. And Kelly's like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't think I'd be able to live without my school dietitian either.
Yeah.
Even if it meant being forced to clean a store in what's now 14 minutes.
So so at this point, again, I was reminded by the fact that actually I find it really detestable and disgusting, the fact that Eastland had a dietitian on staff, that they weren't even referring to her as a nutritionist or, you know, a health aide, but it's dietitian. And like they keep hammering these really disgusting food plots where it's like, you can eat all the tacos you want. It's all healthy. You can gorge. And it's just
and
like,
it's good for pigging out.
It's just disgusting. Like it's like these are not the messages that should be given to little girls in 1983. No wonder so many people had fucking eating disorders.
It's Mrs. Garrett's fault?
It's Mrs. Garrett's fault.
Oh. Kelly says she could never go to boarding school, not because she can't afford it, but because she would miss her brothers and sisters who are aged 12, 10, 9, 8, 6, 6. Those are twins and 3. So maybe just the 10 of us is a Facts of Life spinoff too?
Yeah, so then Natalie's like, what? Your parents don't have a television? Which is a really disgusting joke about birth control.
It's crazy that Natalie has to bring it back to sex.
Went right there. She's like, so your parents are constantly fucking? What the hell's going on in your house?
Like being able to watch Facts of Life once a week would stop them from banging.
I mean, here's the thing. When I watch the Facts of Life, I'm always having sex.
Yeah, I can't keep my hands off myself when I watch it. Kelly really lays it on thick. She's like, that's what the welfare worker said about don't your parents have a TV? Oh, welfare. So sad. The W word does really give Natut's pause, where none of the other insane stuff she said did, but this does.
Yes.
Kelly's like, nah, it's my dad's out of work. It's nothing to worry about. And then Kelly describes her home life as though she lives in Charlie Bucket's house multiplied by 4.
Yeah.
all 10 of them in one bed, eating out of one pot.
And I was like, this clearly is a scam. And Natut's are like, how about if we take you to the movies? And she's like, I'm going to steal the popcorn.
It's like, no, and yeah, the girls are going to pay with their hard-earned quiche money for her to have a ticket. And she's like, how does she swipe the popcorn? That seems a lot harder than sneaking in.
Absolutely.
Like, at least the popcorn's manned. Like, that's impossible.
And also the other thing is that it's like, you know, there could have been there's an opportunity here for like another joke, which is, if you buy me a ticket, then we can go see 2 movies because we can sneak into another one. You know, it's like there's more there than at least let me steal the popcorn.
That's true.
Nothing on this show makes any sense.
No. Especially the transitions. We now transition from Edna's to Edna's again. Wonderful. So new scene, Blair is tending to her olive jars as Joe walks in with a smashed up graffitied garbage can. And Blair's like, oh no, that gang again. And Joe's like, what gang? So you're telling me that Tootie, Natalie, Blair, and Mrs. Garrett all found out about a gang terrorizing the shop. That's what spray paint. Nobody has thought to mention it to Joe.
Yeah, the one person who's like, I'm from the Bronx, I know about shit. And then she's like, and then, you know, Blair's like, yeah, it's that gang. And Joe's like, if there was a gang around, I would know. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Joe's like, if there was a gang in town, I would have fucked their old lady. It would be fine. I would know. I'd be in.
Yep.
Blair surmises that maybe they have an unlisted clubhouse number, which is not hilarious. It's another one of those non-jokes you mentioned. Joe says her street sense would have been tingling. Sure, that's what she's calling it. If there was a gang afoot. But Blair questions Joe's manhood.
Yep.
And says she's been going to a lot of freshman mixers lately. She's more chic than street.
Which is not, I mean, again, we haven't seen it. I don't know that's the case. And here's the thing. I grew up in the Bronx. You don't lose that. I don't know how many mixers I've been to, but you certainly do not lose your street sense.
That is true. And Joe says her street senses would be tingling no matter what. She would know. She's about to go head out to do some deliveries. But then she's going to investigate this. She's going to feel her tingle and see if it starts tingling extra tingly.
Yeah, and then she leaves with like some sort of anonymous box. It looks like a giant wheel of brie, I guess. I don't know. Or a cheesecake. It's so weird. It doesn't even have a lid.
I assumed it was wrapped sandwiches for somebody's lunch that they were delivering. But I don't know what it was. Again,
also, the other thing is it's always unclear what time of day it is. When
they're open, it's the middle of the day.
When does anyone go to school?
Well, they went to gym class earlier.
Okay.
Joe crosses paths with Kelly as she's leaving. Kelly's getting suspiciously comfortable at Edna's. But Joe tells Kelly to exit and then re-enter so she can lock the door in between. So Joe has gone soft.
Yeah, I guess.
Blair suggests that Joe ask Kelly about the GANG, since while Kelly can't spell, she is full of street smarts.
Yep.
But that shit might have worked with Tootie's boyfriend, but Kelly actually does know how to spell GANG. Joe wants nothing to do with Kelly. She just leaves, but calls her a Smurf first.
Yeah, which is apparently a grave insult. You like Smurfs?
I love Smurfs. We've talked about Smurfs on the podcast. It's the only reason we're not going to talk about Peyo anymore.
So what? I don't understand. Why would this be an insult? Because they're small?
They're small, and Kelly was also dressed in blue, and her hair was kind of like a floppy Smurf hat. Why not?
My mom used to call me Smurf.
Were you ever upset by that?
No.
So you're more well-adjusted than Kelly.
I mean, I wasn't on a, sitcom in 1983. So, I don't know. I was one. So.
Kelly's now pissed. Smurf put her over the edge.
Yeah.
So when she's alone with Blair, she gets super threatening. But Blair is like not getting it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly's like, I want to talk to you. And Blair's like giving me flashbacks of her date at the library with Leo. She's like, cool. What about school? What classes are you taking? Fun.
Let's paint together.
And Kelly's like, cut the course crap, Barbie doll. We got to talk business.
Yeah.
Blair's like, no, not if you call me Barbie doll.
I know, that's the thing that she took offense at. I would have assumed that Blair would have been like, oh, thank you so much. My proportions are exactly like a Barbie doll. My waist couldn't support my entire top half because my tits are too big.
Well, she learns not to, better the devil you know, because the new nickname becomes Mrs. Potato Head, which we learn later on did affect Blair a bit. And Kelly tells her about how she's the Lord's Discipline's old lady and she's demanding protection money or they're going to amp up from the kids' stuff they're currently doing. And Blair takes up quite a while until she's like, wait, protection money? That sounds like extortion. And regardless, Kelly's like, yeah, $50 a week or we're putting in air conditioning.
Yeah, which is breaking all the windows.
Have you heard that expression before, having grown up in the Bronx?
No.
I
don't think it is. It's not an expression. I guess Andy Borowitz invented it for this show in particular. But also the other thing is that did you have Mr. Potato Head growing up?
Hmm?
I never did. I was not allowed that, nor was I allowed a Barbie doll.
Well, Mr. Potato Head's actually gender neutral.
Yeah, I know. They at this point, isn't it like Potato Head or something?
Well, now the name is Potato Head, but before, like you could just turn him into Mrs. Potato Head by putting on the hat
the bow, whatever, the ears, I feel like it's at this point, it's like it's a potato. You could put like, a dick coming out of its mouth and it doesn't matter,
They don't give you the dick anymore. They stopped giving you the dick, the vagina, and the butthole. They don't put those in the box anymore.
When did that happen?
Shortly after this episode, I think once they learned that Mrs. Potato Head was such an insult, they were like, let's remove all the gender signifiers.
Shit. Well, I guess, my, niece to be, I got to return that to Kids R Us.
eBay, you can get all of the potato genital pieces you need separate, a la carte.
Good. Can you text me the details after we finish this?
Yes. Potato genitals. Let me just put that in a note. I also will say I thought it was a thing because I'd been hearing it with this episode since I was a little kid. The air conditioning. I truly believe that was tough guy speak.
Anyway, so at this point, Blair's like, "Oh shit, what?" And then Kelly breaks a jar of olives. She throws it to the front, and it is aggressive, and she speaks aggressively towards Blair, enough so that Blair gives her $50 from the cash register.
Immediately, she's like, "I'm calling the police." Olive smash. Not the olives. Here, take all the money.
Yeah. I'm surprised that Kelly didn't make it home with like $4,000.
But we go to commercial break, and we are back, and we are not in the living room. We're not in Edna's edibles, thank goodness. We are in the living room, and Blair is feeling sorry for herself for being scared of a 13-year-old. Jo just got home from pounding the pavement. Her street smarts are so tingly right now. She should bottle them.
They're humming.
They're humming.
And I wrote down, nobody speaks like this. This is not how normal humans communicate in the world.
Well, normal humans aren't normally terrified by a 13-year-old girl pretending to be a whole bicycle gang.
No. Jo is the one who was like, my street smarts are humming. I've been pounding the pavement.
Oh, I know. I was just saying in reaction to the terrifying situation they've been put in.
Anyway, so Jo's discovered that the Lords of Discipline don't exist, but it does. It's a 1983 movie starring Michael Biehn.
Yeah, Jo's like, the Toot tells about the story about the chains. Jo's like, you're all dumb, gullible women.
Yeah.
Tootie doesn't believe that anybody could lie to her, but Jo's like, Kelly's the Pinocchio of Peekskill. And that's got alliteration, so you know it's true.
Yeah. And then Blair has this meltdown because she was duped by a child.
But Mrs. Garrett's like, this is hard to believe. Kelly went out for a limb for us, but not if you believe Jo. Then there was no limb to go out on. That seems to be what's seeming Blair's caprice in this moment. And that's when Blair finally unloads.
Well, but also the other thing that's curious about this is that they're all weird defending this tiny little person that they barely know, who has shoplifted. And like Tootie's like, how dare you, Jo? How fucking dare you? How can you speak like this about our good friend? What's her name again? I don't know.
All I know is I know her a lot longer than I know you, Jo. So I'm going to trust her over you.
Anyway, but also the other thing that I just wanted, speaking of Blair's capri pants, Natalie is wearing a vest, a sweater vest that needs to be spoken about. It is striped and incredibly ugly. It's as though it's a Cosby sweater that has been turned into a sweater vest. And it makes her look literally like a box. No shape at all. Like, she's basically Mr. Potato Head at this point, wearing that vest. It's so ugly and bad, and I don't understand why they keep doing this to her.
The folklore of this, and I can't promise you that this is when it was happening, but I believe it was, is that as Natalie was trying to lose weight and be healthy very desperately, the rest of the cast was really enjoying the craft service and was sort of gaining a little bit of weight until they all met in the middle at being reasonably normal-sized women. And that meant that Natalie was supposed to be the fat one. So all that work that she did, they ended up putting her in the ugliest, boxiest clothes. That's the story. Anyway,
she looks like a rug.
She does. This is not her best look. Blair was actually, I genuinely did laugh at this moment, which was
the blue collar versus white collar crime.
No. It was Blair's breakdown when she starts crying and whimpering and goes, there were olives all over the floor, and she called me Mrs. Potato Head. I had to pay her. And everybody's like, what? I did laugh at that moment.
Here's the thing. I will say this, Dominic. If I came into your house, I threw a jar of olives on the floor and called you Mrs. Potato Head, would you give me $50? If I called you Mrs. Potato Head in a threatening manner, would you give me $50?
If it's you and you asked, I would.
Okay.
I would assume that you needed it, and you'd probably call me the next day and be like, I'm sorry I called you Mrs. Potato Head, and sorry about the olives. And I'd be like, I don't like olives, so it's fine.
Okay, good.
Anyway, Mrs. Garrett calms her down, and Blair tries to tell the story of what happened with a few of the details wrong, particularly they will repair our air conditioner.
Yeah.
Joe tries to make Blair feel stupid for paying Kelly, but Blair explains she never claimed to be an expert on blue-collar crimes. By the way, that is Joe's dad's area, if we're going to get into the details. But Kelly, had she claimed to have embezzled money from a corporation, Blair would have seen right through that.
Mm-hmm.
She has been audited, after all.
That's true.
Mrs. Garrett's coming over to the side of reality, but Tootie still cannot bear to think of something so awful as someone lying to her.
And she's like,
that's all that happens to her all the time.
Nothing. Yeah, but also the fact that she's not, Tootie lies all the time. She's a sociopath. So like the fact that she's like outraged at this, it's the fact that she's defending Kelly is bizarre.
Yeah, but she's like, there's got to be, at least if she stole it for a good reason. And Joe's like, yeah, because she's a fucking crook. Then Natalie grows some weird balls at the wrong moment in the wrong spot, tells Joe that Kelly's dad needed the money, and Joe should stop and realize that she's not the only one who had a rough life, which hasn't been rough at all for the past 4 years, if we're going to be honest. So maybe let's let that storyline for Joe go a little bit.
No.
No, of course not. So Mrs. Garrett thinks there's no defense for Kelly's action.
I know.
She plans to go to the police. She's got such a nice rapport with that guy, she might as well.
True. And I wrote down, like, this is just such strange manufactured outrage from half of the girls. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then it's like there's Mrs. Garrett being like, I'm sorry, Natalie. I know poverty is hard, but you don't steal.
That was a good one.
Joe, in my notes, I wrote down, fuck you, Mrs. Garrett. Because here's the thing. You know what? Poverty is hard. And, some of our greatest myths have been about stealing. Robin Hood. So fuck you, Mrs. Garrett.
I mean, fuck Robin Hood too, though. He's an asshole. Joe decides to take matters into her own hands as Mrs. Garrett heads off to the kitchen for no reason. But Blair just wants to pay the store back, make it all go away. She's got $50, and Joe's like, I don't care if you got $1 million. Blair's like, I do. And Joe's like, I don't care.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, I know. You can pay back the $50, whatever. This is the principle about all this. And then Joe gets out the white pages and starts flipping through the phone book looking for who? Oh, the AffoNOT's address. Because
apparently Kelly gave her real name.
Exactly. You dumb fuck. Exactly. But also I just wrote down, looking through the white pages for someone is like a very old-fashioned thing to do at this point.
Yeah, I love it. I do love it. I used to go through the yellow pages all the time, call all the record stores in the yellow pages and ask for all the things I want, just to know if they had them.
That's
I
was
a little kid.
Yeah.
So now we are in what is probably my favorite 80s apartment. I love it. It like defines the era to me.
No, you know what my favorite, and here's the thing. I'm going to correct you about this because I think that you and I agree about this. Our favorite 80s apartment is Kate and Allie's.
Oh my God, I literally was going to say it. I was like, wait, The first one or the second one?
Well, the one that has the big living room, where they live in like don't they live in like a basement apartment together?
So they do,
big,
except for the last 2 years.
Okay. So
When Allie marries Bob, they go into this amazing, like, fancy apartment, and it's kind of like, wow, they moved on up. But I love the original one too. Just great set design on Kate and Allie all together.
So yeah, so that's the one, not this one.
I like this one though. It was really cool to me, and you know why? Because it had all these records, and it had a stereo system that was prominently displayed, and I was like, yeah, that's the coolest room. I love it.
So yeah, so let's describe it. So we open on a brand new set that they built just for this one dumb scene, right?
Which has stuck with me my whole life.
Okay.
This scene, just so you know.
And so we open on basically for 80s style, very tastefully appointed, like I guess a sort of beige, white leather couch. Right?
It's like the nicest condo in Peekskill.
Yeah, but then there's like a dining table in the back, right, on a different level that has those chairs that have the metal handles that are all one piece, you know, that like it's the back is also part of the arms, you know, that's all leather, all same like sort of beige white. And then you pan over, I think there's a plant, and then you pan over and there's like, I guess like a doorway into, I suppose, the kitchen or something, and then a very big stereo system, and the music is just bumping. Like,
yeah, I really like it.
It's like we're back in Wedgwoods.
It sounds like the second Haircut 100 album without Nick Hayward. I'm sure you know it.
I have no idea what the hell you just said. Those were nonsense words to me. So let's move on. Anyway.
All right. Well, Kelly comes out to, when a knock on the door happens, to looking very much the Smurfs, still in blue, but now fancy blue, mini skirt and top that's poofy, and she's drinking a can of soda like a real asshole.
I thought she was drinking a beer out of a koozie.
Oh, I thought it was like Tab.
Ah, okay.
She turns down the stereo.
So yeah, so the doorbell rings.
It's devastating because that was really good music.
Yeah, so the doorbell rings. She's like, oh, my guests are here, basically. Like, you know, like, oh, I'm so excited. My party's starting. Turns down the stereo, goes to the door. Who's there? It's Joe.
The audience also groans when they reveal that it's Kelly. They're like, oh, that bitch. Of course it's her. And Joe calls the place a designer slum.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly's like, how did you find me? It's like, because you gave your real name.
You dumb
Don't make up a fake gang shenanigan and then give your real name.
Exactly.
Kelly tries to lie. She doesn't live there. She's just babysitting. But then why is her name in the fucking white pages?
Exactly.
Hey, Andy Borowitz, do you just give zero fucks?
Yes.
Joe plays along, demands to see the baby that she's babysitting. And Kelly's like, this is why I did laugh at this. Must have slipped out. Boy, am I going to get yelled at. I wrote good delivery, awful character. Joe says she knows Kelly did everything, and Kelly's proud. She's like, so now you want to eat my pussy?
Yeah. Anyway, so then they yell at one another for like, you know, an interminable amount of time.
Yeah, because nobody fucks with Mrs. Garrett, especially not this twerp Smurf.
Yeah, of course not. Anyway, so then and Joe's like, give me the money back. And she's like, I already donated it to save the children.
Yeah, if you want it, it's in Swaziland, which I thought was a fake place.
Also, no, it's not. But also, fuck you, Andy Borowitz.
Eswatini is what they call it now.
Oh.
But it did used to be called Swaziland. Not derogatorily, and apparently America still refers to it as Swaziland.
Mm-hmm.
Joe decides to plant her ass on the couch until Kelly can scrape up the $50 she owes Mrs. Garrett, but Kelly freaks out. No! My parents! You gotta go.
She's like,
they're due back from bridge night, which apparently makes them grumpy.
I don't know. Again, I don't know how to play bridge. I've never played it. I've played canasta, which makes me sound like a very old woman.
I like
canasta. But like, again, it's like, how grumpy can you get? It's not like poker.
Yeah, it's like AffoNOTs. How about this? Don't play bridge.
Go to
and
the
also,
movies.
don't procreate because you suck at it.
Yeah.
Joe holds her hand out, and Kelly miraculously pulls out a wad of cash from her super tight miniskirt that did not have pockets until she reached into them. It was like the skirt was like and like made room for her hand that was coming in, and then covered up back up because I like, where did those pockets come from and where did they go? They're the Cotton Eye Joe of that skirt. And then Joe tells her that if she goes back to Edna's edibles, she can forget about breathing. Doesn't necessarily mean death, because I often forget about breathing. I just do it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I've been doing it this whole time. Have you noticed?
I haven't. I didn't even think about it. I forgot all about breathing. So now we're back in Edna's edibles.
I know.
I missed that place. I hadn't been there for 2 scenes.
Yeah.
One
scene. One. Oh no, I guess we were in the living room.
Living room, yeah. Natalie is going over with Joe a story that was told to her by Joe.
Yeah, she's like, wait. She's like, holy shit! What? Wait.
She had a cassette player, a portable stereo, and a portable Tron.
Well, Joe says, and a portable Tron, which Joe should have smashed, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Garrett thinks it doesn't make sense. She's rich. She shouldn't be a criminal. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Mrs. Garrett. Some of the richest people in the world are all criminals. I mean, have you heard of the Sacklers?
That's a fact of life she'll get to shortly.
There we go.
Blair talks about how mean and unpleasant Kelly was. Why would anybody want to act like Joe if they didn't have to?
I mean, true.
Maybe Blair should take that sociology class.
Yeah, and then is Tootie like, hey, Natalie, you took the sociology class. Like, what's your explanation? And she's just like, she's a creep.
Yep.
And like, to be honest, yeah, I don't need to think about this little asshole anymore. She is a creep. An attention-seeking creep.
Agreed completely. Joe also doesn't want to talk to her anymore. So, of course, immediately after she says that, Kelly enters the store.
And let's just say this. First of all, after we've taken off the incredibly tight denim skirt, now Kelly has decided to wear all of her clothing. She's wearing so much clothes.
Could she be wearing any more clothes?
Exactly. She's Joey to Chandler. She's wearing this huge, like, gray and white leather jacket over like a denim shirt, over a purple shirt that's like buttoned up to like here. It's so much clothes. It's basically like, okay, can we make this little tiny Pamela Adlon, who's like 13, can we make her Natalie size?
They're trying to even out everything so you can never tell anybody's weight. That was the plan. Just disorient them.
Mm-hmm.
This is where Joe says, kid, you're in the store and you're breathing. One of those things has got to change.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kelly's like, you going to let her say that to me, Mrs. Garrett? Are you going to let her threaten me, Mrs. Garrett? And Mrs. Garrett's like, why not? She's good at it.
Yeah.
Kelly points out that they're not giving her a chance. And why would they give her a chance? She has had so many chances.
And she's a stranger.
Yes.
She doesn't go to school with them. We don't know who the fuck she is. And then she's like, but like, give me a second chance. I really like your strudel.
Yeah, it's flaky.
Yeah. And then Mrs. Garrett's like, well, I'm not running a fucking home for wayward girls. And I was like, well, Mrs. Garrett, yes, you are. And also, you went to a strip club this week. So it's not like, you're not doing anything tawdry.
That is true. Natalie thinks that Kelly just did this for the entertainment and that Kelly should get cable, which, of course, she has cable. She has a portable Tron.
Yeah, of course.
And Blair walks over and proclaims, I'm not afraid of you anymore. And that was funny. I laughed at that part. I did. Kelly goes, you tell 5 or 6 lies, and they never let you forget about it. And then immediately asks, why, when Joe says you're not welcome here? I don't know. The 5 or 6 lies.
And the stealing and the breaking of things and the graffiti and the garbage can. All of the things.
all of them. Mrs. Garrett goes on a rant with escalating volume, but only using her deepest voice, listing all of her grievances.
You never even tried the truth.
It's like in that incredibly annoying, wobbly, condescending tone.
Yeah, it's true. It's her last scene of the episode voice.
But also, the other thing is that I was thinking, I was like, so, okay, maybe Kelly's fucking terrible home life in her, rich family condo is boring and lame. But like, why the fuck does this 13-year-old punk want to hang out with these fucking squares?
I literally wrote the same thing. I wrote
an old lady and these boring ass teenagers who never do shit.
I know Kelly's pleading with them. Can't we start over? Like, I simply must be friends with all the employees of my neighborhood gourmet food shop, or my life will not be complete. It's so weird, but Mrs. Garrett says rightly, the only reason you want to hang around is to cause trouble. But no, it's also for the strudel. Is Kelly a spy sent by Mr. Parker?
I mean, that would be a better plot.
It sure would. Apparently, the reason she needs to spend all of her time at a random croissant shop is because her parents work and she's already scored $1 million on Tron. Okay, fine.
Do something else. Go to the city. Start doing the child prostitution ring that Tootie was.
You would have been way better at that.
Get your kicks in. Don't hang out here.
Makes no sense. But Kelly quietly says, I just wanted a place to hang out. And that somehow moves the needle with Mrs. Garrett, who softens. This is where she says, I'm not running a home for wayward girls, even though she literally is. She says she's a businesswoman. It would be stupid of her to let her use the place as a hangout if all she's going to do is threaten the employees and break olives and steal snails. And Kelly says she won't steal anything from her anymore after 3 extremely loud page turns in some random book on a table.
I know. What was that? What was that, Azad? Jesus.
It was so weird. Mrs. Garrett makes Kelly promise. Although Kelly worries that a promise might not actually be a promise because that's a really heavy number to people like Mrs. Garrett, right? And it is. It's the heaviest.
Yeah.
Joe points out that there will be an Edna's exodus should Kelly be allowed to hang out there. Even the Toots hates her, and they're like one dumb dog. They like everyone.
Yeah. True.
But Kelly says she'll make it up to the Toots. And then she excuses her behavior, calling it an icebreaker, saying that if she led with my mom makes paper loops for the PTA, you all would have spit in her face. And you know what? It sucks because, Kelly asks, is it too late to try the truth on them and square things away? And it isn't, because they're suckers and they have low self-esteem and they're just going to say yes and bring her back into the fold for no reason, even though she is a full-on psychopath, violent and dangerous and strange, and nobody needs her in their life.
Nobody needs her.
No,
she's also a minor. She's like a very little kid. So she shouldn't be partying with these people in any case.
I know. Mrs. Garrett, she says, if you want my trust, you're going to have to earn it. So please wipe the top of this jar immediately, and then I'll take you to the movies, because that's how things work here.
But the other thing is that it's like, here's the thing. Mrs. Garrett, at this point, fuck you. These girls have disappointed you. Your girls have disappointed you for 5 seasons. Literally 5 seasons. They put you in jail.
That's all they do.
That's all they do. So it's like, you're gonna have to earn my trust. And it's like, how? Really? Okay, well, is that it? Oh, that jar? Is that enough? Okay, good. And Mrs. Garrett's like, that's good. I love you. Move in.
Yeah, well, Mrs. Garrett basically goes like, how do you even earn trust? And Mrs. Garrett's like, stop being a big, fat, stupid liar. Maybe people will like you and just like, or hate you like I do. And then that's when it all comes out. Kelly is just searching for an elder lesbian's approval. She's like, why do you hate me, Joe? What did I do to you? And Joe's like, did you watch this episode?
Yeah. So she's like, and the thing is that she's like, I saw you at the motorcycle shop or the garage or whatever. You fixed my father's golf cart, like real quick. You fixed the golf cart. You ate out that woman. You signed off.
This was Kelly's first Smurf orgasm. It's
Yeah,
clear.
like she was like, you did all this cool shit, and I've had a crush on you ever since.
She
And
watched her work on a bike and at a place that she might still have a job. We don't know. Apparently, Kelly's stupid wealthy dad needed his golf cart fixed because he got it stuck in a sand trap. What a douche.
Anyway.
But yeah, Joe's like, why would you remember that? And Kelly's like, in 10 minutes, he fixed an engine, drained a crankcase, threw a 6'2" biker out on his tattoo, and made me come for the very first time.
Exactly.
Kelly's like, I look up to you, which is definitely code.
Yes.
This is code. There's code in this.
That's code. And but also then Joe's like, listen, I've been around a lot longer than you have. And it's like,
I've eaten pussies older than you.
But it's like, no, you haven't. You're like 5 years older than this person. You haven't.
Maximum.
Yeah, like maybe 4, to be perfectly frank.
I know. And Kelly's like, can't you just open your legs just an inch? And Joe's like, all right, an inch.
And Joe's like, Kelly's like, just open it at an inch so I can get a whiff.
Yeah. And Kelly orgasms right there on the spot when Joe agrees, jumping up and down, grabbing Joe's sleeve, trying to get her bulky sweater off. And Joe's just like, ugh, there's nothing worse than an eager lesbian. And that is our episode.
Yeah. I liked you better when I hated you.
That sounded like Lisa Barlow of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Who I know you're working on your impression.
I'm working on it.
I know. So I know
I can't. It's a weird thing because she has like a weird mouth. It's low, but she has a big mouth. It's this odd thing.
I hate you.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, what did you think of this episode?
I hated it.
Great.
Nothing happened. It was pointless. But here's the thing. Flew by.
This is not one of my favorite episodes either, but I like the episode, but I hate Kelly so much, and I hate what she did so much. And it's not a funny episode, except for I'm not afraid of you anymore, which I do like.
But again, nothing.
Oh, and of course, the officer.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Aside from Larry Wilmore, nothing happens.
Aside from Larry Wilmore, nothing happens. All right. Well, I think that we did this one justice.
Yeah.
And next week we have an episode called Store Games where there will be some croissant wars, which I'm excited about.
Oh shit. That sounds intense.
Oh yeah. I hope you like croissants.
Croissants. Yeah, I love croissants.
Excellent. Then you will love this episode.
I made you croissants.
And they were delicious. And I just ate like 7 of them with butter in front of my TV the minute I got them while they were still warm. It was amazing. All right. Well, until next time, I think I've been using this one. Hasta la pasta, my lovelies. And the hasta la pasta salad.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
50 centiliters.
50 centiliters of hasta la pasta salad. All right. Until next time. Bye.